This is Stephen Wachowski from Christian Music Network, and we're here with Jim Beeson. So how you doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome, awesome. So tell me about yourself.
Well, where do I start? I
Hmm.
started off as a musician back in the late 80s, 90s in the LA club scene and played all the major clubs in LA and some of the clubs in Orange County. Uh, got out of that and started to go to school for film editing and became a film editor for a while. And I even worked for my church as the film editor. And now I do music and I'm a director and a screenwriter, and I've got three movies in about 30 different film festivals across the world.
Cool, 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 cool. So tell me
Yeah.
about your movies that you've done.
I'm sorry, what now?
Tell me about your movies.
Well, I've got three movies out there, short films that I used AI to create the whole thing. And first one is called Project Ether, about a group of people experimenting with teleportation
Mm,
that accidentally discover hell.
wow.
Yeah. It's actually a Christian movie. These guys discover the land of the dead, basically, the Abraham's bosom. And then
Mm,
later on, they find hell. And these demons are trapped down there and they uncover this whole thing and it freaks everybody out. They've got to run for their lives. That's
wow.
the that's the first movie.
Cool.
The second movie is about a space station orbiting a planet, and the space station is called Scepter. And there's a computer programmer who is the head of the whole thing, and she doesn't realize that what the corporation that she's working for is doing is making slave worlds with her uh, space station. And so she doesn't realize it, and a saboteur comes on board and wants to blow the whole thing up, and she discovers him before he gets a chance to. And there's a time bomb ticking in the engine, and they've got to run for their lives, and it's all crazy. And the third film is called The 13th Dragon.
Okay.
And that's about a wizard who wants to steal a jewel from a dragon that's protecting it so he can take over the world.
Mm,
Yeah, so that's what I'm up to these days, and I've got these films in about 30 different film festivals across the United States and around the world. And I'm
cool.
just waiting for them to start popping.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. And you have some songs too. You have Dead Man Walking. Tell me about that.
Well, Dead Man Walking, great song. It actually turns out that I used AI to create that video for it. It's about John the Beloved, and he's on Patmos after being exiled, and he's watching heaven come down in a vision. And so this song is about what he sees. He's actually, as he's sitting there, he sees the heavenly city of the New Jerusalem coming down to earth. And the song says, mark the days until my Savior comes, count the seasons till we leave, break the chains that held my praises down until we sing the song of the redeemed. So basically, he's on this island. He's waiting for he's waiting for the return of Christ, and he's just pining for this time, and he's seeing this vision. It's all incredible. And then we have another song. We've got another song called "Streets of Gold,"
Right.
and that just talks about how when we finally get to heaven, it talks about the holy light of God falling on streets of gold, and how once that happens, that's it for us. There's no more stress. There's no more crying. There's no more fear. There's no more want. No more anger. Everything is perfect forever. And then the third song is called Unbroken. Now, the third song is actually about Christ, the day of the crucifixion, and what he's going through. And it's an atmospheric kind of lyric that puts you in that space where it talks about the whole scene and using sensory language to put you in that headspace of what it felt like to be in that place right there. And so the lyrics go, the sky above began to darken as soldiers led him to the hill. The sound of mourning in the distance, rain like blood begins to spill. So it really puts you in that headspace using sensory language so you can see everything that's going on with your ears. It's what I was really striving to do at that point. I was really trying to create songs with sensory language. And that turned out really well. I mean, it turned out extremely well. In
Cool.
fact, my goddaughter, that's her favorite song. She was only 4 years old when I created it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. So
yeah.
where can we get your music?
All this stuff is on YouTube. Just check out Jimmy Beeson, and you'll see all my. I've got tons of videos, and I've got these 3 movies up there. I've got trailers for my films. It's all kinds of stuff.
Cool. Cool. So,
Yeah.
do you do any concerts now?
Actually, I'm working on just being a filmmaker now. I used to be in a band called Divine Right, and we would play all over the Southern California area as a Christian band.
Oh,
And but now I'm mostly just working on my films. And what I want to do is, if I get these films and they get noticed in film festivals, I want to turn the film into a full length feature. But what I'm also trying to do is, if I can do that, get my music into those films. Because I've got like 24 albums of worth of music. I actually had a website before, but it just got taken down, so I got to put it back up.
okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, I had all that music up there.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Yeah.
So, how can we contact you?
Uh, my web, or excuse me, my uh, email is 3rings4@hotmail.com.
Okay.
THREERINGS, the number 4 at hotmail.com. And you can find it on my videos. You'll see it. It'll be in the descriptions.
Cool. Well, cool. Uh, uh, um, so, so what else is ahead for you?
Well, if I can get the main focus now is getting these films made. If I can get the films made, then I'm going to be a full-time filmmaker, full-time director, screenwriter. I still have to write the third screenplay for the 13th Dragon. So that's going to be on the ticket right now, but I'm trying to get notice for my films. And I have to wait because these film festivals go out all the way through July. So February, March, April, May, June, July, all the way through. I'm waiting to see the response. And it turns out one of the film festivals is sponsored by Sony Pictures. One of the film festivals is the largest Christian film festival in the world. So I'm waiting to see. Those are the 2 big ones. I mean, I'll take whatever I can get, but those are the 2 big ones.
Sure. Cool. 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 Cool.
Yeah, so that's what I'm praying that God will open those doors, man.
Yeah. 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 So, as a film maker, do you have any advice for other d directors?
Well, I would say that you have to embrace technology now because what happens is what's going on right now is it's so expensive to make a film.
Sure.
I mean, you can spend between 20 and $100 million to make a film, and getting somebody to believe in you that much is going to be difficult. So what you have to do is you have got to embrace technology. There's 2 ways to go I can see. If depending on if you have like a fantasy film or a science fiction film, which are my films are.
Sure.
There's a computer program called Unreal Engine, and it used to be a game engine that they would create like games for, like Warcraft or whatever. But it got so good that you can actually make full-length feature films
Mm.
from Unreal Engine. In fact, they use it to create The Mandalorian.
Wow.
So if you can get that program under your belt and you got a fast enough computer, you can actually create your own films. And there's nothing that can stop you. In fact, I got a friend online on YouTube that creates full-length features with just this computer program. I mean, man, and I'm telling you something, man, it's incredible. It's so realistic. You would never know that you were not watching something real. The Mandalorian, they actually just put a big screen in the background of these actors and projected the backgrounds on this using
Mm,
this computer program, and that was their whole set.
wow.
There was no real set, just that.
Cool. Sure.
Yeah. Now, there's also one other way to do it, because now with artificial intelligence, these are how I'd make my films and a couple of my some of the videos that you've seen. You can actually make full-on feature films, and I would say maybe limited, but to some degree, and if you watch The 13th Dragon especially, you can get a full feature film through using AI. Now, you have to be a filmmaker. You have to understand cameras and lighting and script writing and all that stuff. But if you know that, then you can actually create some incredible things. And I was surprised because I got some really amazing performances out of my AI characters. I was shocked.
Oh,
I couldn't believe how good these films actually turned out. I mean, it was amazing. Really dramatic performances from these AI characters, and you can do the voices and everything.
sure. Oh, cool, cool, cool. So, do you have any advice for musicians?
Well, these days, unfortunately, the industry is so screwed up that they're only signing um, single artists. They're not signing bands anymore.
Really? Wow.
It's just because of it's too much of a risk. So you got to
Wow. Mm,
understand that they're only going to be signing uh, single artists. But what you can do is you can create a groundswell movement on your own with your own band. If you have enough technical prowess, you can make all the music yourself, create all the videos yourself, and then distribute it on your own website, Spotify, uh, YouTube, even Vimeo. And you have got to do everything yourself. But if you make a big enough groundswell movement, a big enough noise, and you get enough hits, then the record companies will start coming after you. They just want you to do all the groundwork and they want you to create the big explosion and they'll come after you.
sure.
If you can get a
Yeah,
million hits,
I
yeah.
mean that's a requirement nowadays.
Hmm.
It's crazy, you know.
Yeah, it's always been that way, but you make a big enough noise, it doesn't matter what you do. They'll come after you because all they care about
Sure.
is money. I mean, all they
Yeah,
care about
exactly.
is money. So if they see dollar signs, that's it. It doesn't matter. And you can do it. It just takes a good, chunk of time and all people on the board doing the same thing. But if you can get that groundswell going, you can, especially on TikTok, because there's so many people on TikTok, YouTube and Facebook and even like Pinterest. I mean, not Pinterest, but what's the other one? Instagram.
Sure.
If you make big enough noise, that's all you have to do. Just make a big enough noise and they'll come looking for you because all they want is somebody who's done all the work first and has a groundswell movement. And the internet has leveled the playing field so anyone can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, what record companies would do is they would find bands who were talented, and the record companies would be two sides. It'd be a bank to lend you the money, and there'd be a PR person to record the album and put it out there. Then you'd have to sell a certain amount of albums, and if you made more than what it cost to make the album, you'd make money.
Sure.
But then they would lend you more money to make the second album, and then it keeps on going like this. And if you didn't make enough money, they lend you until you're totally in debt. So bands would have to make 5 or 6 albums, and make hits just to see any kind of cash. And it turns out that Tom Petty was bankrupt at one point, and he actually declared bankruptcy.
Wow. Mm.
So you got to be smart about what you do, and you have to understand the industry and understand what's going on when a record company lends you the money to do what you're going to do. You've got to pay it back, and then you share in the profits. And then a lot of artists actually will reap from the merchandise and from playing live and
Sure,
getting their songs and movies and stuff like that. So that's where their real income comes from.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, nowadays musicians just have to go out there and do concerts. You
right.
know, yeah,
Yeah,
no matter where where it's at, they have to do it. Just to be, just to you know do it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the love of his love of playing is great, but you have to be a businessman. You got to be a musician over here and a businessman over here,
Exactly.
and understand supply and demand. You got to understand the crowd. You got to understand marketing. What one good thing is you can do is if you have one person in the band or get somebody to do to have a marketing degree, then they can actually learn how to market your band into different markets and find out where you're hot. And then you go into that place and you infect that place with your music. And as that starts to grow here, then you find out where else you're hot and you go over there and start to grow your base over there. And so finally, you've got this whole thing, and all these markets start to come together.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, what you could do is find filmmakers who are just beginning and offer to put your music in their films for either no fee whatsoever or a small fee, and that'll create a big opening for you as well. A lot of bands have done that.
Sure.
In fact, Pixabay, there's a place called Pixabay online. You can get free videos and special effects and sound effects and all this stuff. But you can actually put your music up there and just make a stipulation. Hey, if you use my music in your videos, just make sure you tell everybody about me, which is what I did for the soundtracks and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So the internet is an incredible resource.
Awesome. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. Yeah, and the internet has made everything so much easier for people to get their music out.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot you can do. And I did a lot of the stuff myself.
Hmm.
So the band I was with wouldn't have to worry about it. But then, at the same time, they just got lazy and were like, "Hey, I'm going to let you do everything. You'll write the music, you'll record the music, and you'll do all the PR and you'll do all the video. But we're just going to sit here and rehearse every once a week, maybe." And you can't do that. You have to have everybody on board. You have to have management. Somebody understands marketing. Somebody understands the internet.
Sure,
If you can get that, then you'll be okay.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for your advice.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, like to thank you for coming on, Jim. It was my pleasure. Any last words?
Well, just realize that there's so many resources out there. If you love doing music, you love movies, there's a ton of resources. So the world is at your feet. Just now you have the chance to be as creative as you want to be and just go for it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and we'll be looking forward to your movies coming out, and hopefully more people will get more attention of your that and your music as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So yeah. So God bless you in all that you do, and good night.
You too. Thanks.